The 24-hour love story. I've lived in Maplewood all my life. It's the kind of village you could drive through in 5 minutes and not think twice about, unless you stopped at Hank's Diner for coffee or slowed down to see the kids play baseball by the schoolyard. Folks here still wave when you pass, and Sundays mean church bells, pie on porches, and the faint smell of someone grilling out back. That's why I remember it so clearly. Because Maplewood isn't the sort of place where you expect to see a love story bloom and end all in one day. But it happened, right before my eyes, and I swear to you it was real. It started on a Friday morning in late June, the air heavy with the kind of summer heat that makes the asphalt shimmer. I was sitting at Hank's, sipping coffee, when she walked in, a stranger. Her name was Claire Jennings, though I didn't learn that right away. She was in her late 20s, maybe 30, with that tired but curious look travelers wear. A leather satchel slung across her shoulder, dust on her sneakers, and a map folded in her hand like she didn't quite trust her phone. She slid into a booth by the window, ordered black coffee and pancakes, and pulled out that map as if she was trying to figure out where in the world she'd landed. A few minutes later, the door jingled again, and in came Daniel Hart. Now, Daniel I knew. He grew up here, left for a while, came back a year ago after his father passed. He was 32, ran odd jobs around town, helped at the hardware store. Good-looking in that quiet, rough-around-the-edges way. He carried himself like someone who'd seen a bit more than Maplewood, but still belonged to it. Daniel sat at the counter, a stool away from me, nodding to Hank. But when his eyes landed on Claire, this outsider studying a paper map in 2023, of all things, something in him lit up. I swear I could feel it from where I was sitting. It didn't take long. Hank had the kind of diner where strangers didn't stay strangers for more than 10 minutes. Claire asked him if the buses ran through Maplewood, and Daniel turned on his stool, offering that easy smile of his. "Not unless you're headed back the way you came," he told her. "But I've got a truck. Where you trying to get?" She looked up, cautious but not unkind. "I was headed toward Boston, but I think I got myself turned around." And just like that, their day began. They left the diner together, Daniel insisting he'd show her the village before she caught the next train east. And folks around here, well, we notice things. By noon, half the town had already seen them strolling down Main Street. Claire was laughing at something Daniel said, her hand brushing his arm when she tilted her head back. He pointed out the old clock tower, the general store, the church with the white steeple that leaned a little to the left. By afternoon, they were sitting on the bleachers by the ball field, watching kids in red uniforms chase fly balls under the blazing sun. Claire had ditched her satchel, letting it rest by Daniel's boots, and she looked lighter somehow, like the weight she carried into Hank's had lifted. I passed them again at Miller's Market, both of them picking out peaches from the bin out front. She teased him about knowing which ones were ripe. He teased her back about city folks not knowing fruit if it bit them first. People talk in Maplewood, but not meanly. Just the kind of chatter that lets you know you belong. And by then, it felt like she did. That evening, the village held its summer bonfire down by the lake. It's an old tradition. Kids roast marshmallows, teenagers sneak beers, parents chat while fireflies glow in the tall grass. I was there, too, sitting on a folding chair with my wife, when I saw Daniel and Claire arrive. They stood a little apart at first, watching the flames lick upward, sparks flying into the purple sky. Then someone handed Daniel a guitar. He could play, always had. He strummed an old tune, low and steady, while Claire listened, her eyes fixed on him like he was the only person in the world. When the music faded, they wandered toward the dock. I pretended not to watch, but I saw them sit at the edge, feet dangling above the water, shoulders almost touching, firelight reflected in her hair, and Daniel leaned close to say something. She laughed softly, then rested her head against him. It was the kind of picture you'd think belonged to a long love, not two people who'd met that morning. The night deepened, and most folks drifted home. But I stayed a little longer, and so did they. Around midnight, I saw them walking through the quiet streets, their path lit by porch lamps and stars. They stopped by the old wooden bridge that crosses Willow Creek. Daniel leaned against the railing, and Claire stood facing him, their silhouettes soft in the moonlight. I couldn't hear their words, but I didn't need to. Her hands reached for his, and his thumb traced the back of hers like he'd known it forever. They kissed then, slow, tender, inevitable. The next morning, Maplewood woke to its usual Saturday rhythm. Church bells tolled, kids rode bikes, and the bakery line stretched out the door. But under it all was a quiet buzz. Whispers of the stranger and Daniel Hart. Folks had seen them at the diner again, sharing pancakes this time. She had her hair pulled back, and he looked younger, lighter, like the years had dropped off him overnight. But as the sun climbed higher, so did the truth. Claire had a ticket, a train leaving that afternoon. She hadn't meant to stay. I saw them one last time at the station. Daniel carried her satchel, and she held his arm like letting go would hurt too much. They stood by the platform, saying nothing for a long while. When the whistle blew, she pressed something into his hand, maybe a note, maybe just her touch, and kissed him once more. Then she boarded. The train pulled away, and Daniel stayed rooted to the platform long after the cars disappeared. Finally, he turned, shoulders heavy, but eyes that carried something new. And that was it. A single day, start to finish. A love story that lasted just 24 hours, but burned brighter than some do in a lifetime. Folks in Maplewood still talk about it sometimes, not in gossip, but in wonder. Because what we saw wasn't ordinary. It was a reminder that even here, in our small village where life moves slow and steady, love can arrive like a summer storm. Unexpected, fierce, and unforgettable. And though Claire Jennings may have left on that train, I swear part of her stayed. Because Daniel Hart was never quite the same again.